So for our final session, we're going to be launching 3 pieces of work, which all produced within or partner to ADM+S. And 3 pieces of work all around future automated mobilities, connecting with our transport and mobilities focus area. And I think 3 actually really exceptional pieces of work, which are designed to both enable us to reflect on what's happening in relation to transport and mobilities and automated transport and mobilities and ADM in the present, but also to think about how we think about future automated mobilities and how we might kind of think about the basis for going forward. So first, I would like to introduce Chris O'Neill. Chris is going to be presenting the social issues and automated decision-making transport and mobilities report.
Yeah.
And telling a little bit about the nature of the reports.
Yeah.
So over to you, Chris.
Great.
But we can sit down if you can sit down. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Such comfortable chairs, you know, it'd be a shame to not use them, you know. So thank you for that, sir. So basically, me and Mark and Kelly and Jathan and actually a whole host of other people as well. I don't know, too many to name really. Georgia Van Torn, Vaughan Wozniak O'Connor, lots of other people. We've been sort of working collaboratively on this thing, which is the Social Issues in Automated Decision-Making report. And unfortunately, we don't have copies here at the moment, except for this one. But if you come tomorrow, I don't know. I think we'll have some to pass around or give away rather tomorrow if you're interested in grabbing a copy. So basically, the aim of the Social Issues in Automated Decision-Making report has been to sort of map and synthesize the key issues related to automated decision-making within each stream of the ADM+S Center. So not just transport and mobility, but also health, news and media, and social services, in order ultimately to try and understand what is shared and what is unique to each field's sort of negotiation of ADM as a technology. And we're defining social issues very broadly here, really, in terms of, I guess, the concerns raised by the consequences of ADM for the life chances and circumstances of individuals is situated within social relations structured by contemporary and historical forms of power. So this document marks the first stage of our research. And it brings together material we've collected from discussions with leaders in the center's focus areas, as well as feedback from an international collection of experts in the respective domains. And for each focus area, we followed a similar methodology for canvassing key social issues. Started by discussing key social issues with focus area leaders and their teams. Then canvassed the academic literature. We've looked at reports by industry groups and relevant independent organizations, as well as popular media coverage. And for each area, we've sought to identify key applications of ADM and the possible social benefits and harms with which they're associated. Now, when we're examining the use of ADM in transport and mobility, we particularly find ourselves confronted with the question of space as a social and a political issue. And we trace this problematic across several domains, including the place of ADM in light vehicles, industrial and heavy vehicles, aerial mobility, warehouses and warehouse technology, and the gig economy. And as history has repeatedly demonstrated, and as we found, rearranging transport infrastructures means reconfiguring spatial relations and practices. Closed and privatized spaces, ranging from warehouses to large mineral mines, lend themselves to the constraints required to operate automated mobility systems in relative safety. By contrast, of course, existing public roads through multi-use spaces raise a host of challenges for the safe operation of automated vehicles. in comparing the use of automated vehicles in the wide open spaces of open-cut mines with efforts to develop, say, self-driving cars in urban areas have been extremely interesting to compare here as well. Moreover, as the theorist Paul Virilio has observed, novel transport technologies usher in novel forms of the accident. And in the transport realm, automation raises a host of defining accidents, from the hacking of centralized transport systems to broader system failure. We've already seen instances, of hackers gaining remote control of automated vehicles, or sending dozens of rideshare drivers to the same address to snarl traffic for fun. As vehicles of all kinds become dependent on these networked communication systems, transport becomes increasingly subject to network vulnerabilities. We also found that automated organization of transport relies, in many contexts, on increasingly centralized forms of data capture and processing. Even as vehicles become moving sensors, raising concerns about privacy, surveillance, control, and data governance. Remote tracking can result in the intensification of labor in contexts ranging from warehouse management to the surveillance of remote workers, including gig workers such as delivery drivers and commercial passenger vehicle drivers, as we were discussing earlier. Furthermore, automation results in an ongoing split between hardware and software and respective structures of ownership and control. Smartening of vehicles means that consumers may find themselves owning physical vehicles, but subscribing to services ranging from extended range for electric vehicles rather, to seat warmers and remote unlocking. Transportation as a service could displace ownership models with subscription ones, and this sort of idea of transport as a service is something we consider in the report. Also, when it comes to mass transport, there are important digital divide issues to consider. On the one hand, people with disabilities and impairments could benefit greatly from light vehicles like vans, shuttles, and carts that could assist them in traveling to grocery stores, doctor offices, pubs and theaters, friends and family. On the other hand, flexible transport systems and transit systems rely upon always-on forms of network connectivity for users, which means access to a network device becomes a precondition for use, as does subjection to forms of data collection and tracking. So these were some of the things that we sort of canvassed and discussed in the issue. There are others, but I wouldn't want, as I feel keenly the sense of keeping you from the pub, so I will stop it there. Next year, we'll be holding a series of writing workshops. As I said, this has been a collaboratively produced document, and the idea with the writing workshops in transport and mobility, as well as the other focus areas, will be to invite centre participants and members to contribute to the next iteration of the report. And the goal here is both to build a comprehensive resource for the respective focus areas, as well as to provide a forum for considering how concerns and possibilities span across the different areas that the centre is looking at. So if you're in the centre or if you're affiliated with the centre and the project seems interesting to you at all, please feel free to get in touch with any of us here, and we can be happy to, chat more about the project with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. I'm just standing up for a break to symbolise the break in the in the process. I'll skip that in a minute. So now I'd like to introduce myself, and I'll be speaking on behalf of Emma Quilty, who led our. Do we have the next slide? Next slide is there. So Emma led on the automated decision-making and transport and mobility review of industry trends and visions of the future. And Emma has unfortunately had to go home, and in case anybody thought I was just texting or reading something on my phone while Chris was talking, I wasn't actually being that rude. I was actually revising the notes that Emma sent me so I can present. So anyway, I'll sit down and get on with that now. So, Emma will be back tomorrow, so if anybody does have any questions or want to talk to Emma about the work or the report, and hopefully we'll also have a physical copy of the report to share with you tomorrow as well. But this report has been a key piece of work, actually, that we've been doing in the Transport and Mobilities focus area in ADM+S. And Emma's role originally was to come on to do the report and some other scoping work, which we still have in progress. So this report is the first output from this bigger body of work that we've been developing. And the report's important because what we really wanted to do was to know what the dominant industry, government, consultancy, other business narratives were saying about future automated mobilities in Australia, specifically in Australia. And a report around this area of the kind that we've done just didn't exist at the time. So Emma reviewed around 60 reports, which we sourced according to certain criteria so that we knew that they would be responding to what we were interested in. So we very careful to get the reports from the consultancies, from government agencies, from different government departments, and also from the industry around these questions, but also very careful to ensure we had a particular focus on Australia. One of the things for me about these reports is that the results of the analysis weren't surprising. And for me, that's actually worrying because we got the sense that the same benefits of future automated mobility, self-driving cars, mobility as a service, etc., the same benefits are still being touted that were being touted about 10 years ago. So making things more greater convenience for drivers or users of transport systems, greater safety, and energy efficiency. So benefits to the environment and to people of those kinds. Now, what we've known from many other studies is, of course, that people and what's really going to happen in the future as we move on really complicate the way that any of those benefits can come about. So it's worrying that they're still being seen as such a straight line from the new tech to the benefit in these industry and government reports in Australia, and really endorses the fact that the work that we're doing in ADM+S around transport and mobilities is so important. So what I want to go to is just to talk about some of the key findings that Emma's brought forward. And so what we found was that the stated aims of these reports were to anticipate, predict, or forecast the future of urban transport. But in practice, many of the reports that Emma looked at really operated like pitches for government contracts. They were kind of neatly posing the problem and the solution to future mobility all in one. Secondly, we found that although the reports each served the interests of different government or industry stakeholders, they had some very strong common themes. So they're all kind of driving, sorry the pun, in the same direction. Maybe not the right direction. The kind of implicit and explicit claims that were posed across the reports painted a picture of a particular kind of person that the urban futures that were oriented towards. And another common theme was an idealized kind of future person they were thinking of. And an idealized future person whose interests were in the front mind in the articulation of all of these claims. And this is a particular kind of person, we're building up to who it is, a particular kind of person who would actually realize the predictive benefits of the technology, which would be mobility as a service running seamlessly, self-driving cars being used, etc. And what you'll love when you see the report is that these kind of ideal future people were all men. The younger one is the student who has a very kind of easy, navigable life, right? The second one is family man, who's the father who has like the wife and the kids, and you know, he benefits a lot from this kind of future mobility system. And the really fun one, which is Podman, who I'm sure that Emma will introduce you all to tomorrow, and you'll be able to see in the reports. And Podman is, you know, probably in his mid-30s. He's single, or if he has a wife, you know, she'll be at home looking after the kids. He can just commute pretty smoothly in his self-driving pod to work, get a coffee on the way. Doesn't really have to worry about schedules and time because his wife's taken the kids to school already, of course. And I think he's the same kind of guy that Thomas has been finding in his work as well. This guy is all over the place in visions of future mobilities. And he's the kind of guy who we really need to do something about. But it's not really, he's being perpetuated by those narratives. So we really, I think what Emma's report shows us so much is that those narratives still aren't shifting, the dominant narratives aren't shifting. So we really need to be working from the bottom up to find these hopeful, to think about automotive. This is one of the reasons for the theme of the symposium, right? Justice and care and hope. So we hope for a future where other more diverse future mobilities will be evident, will be visible. And that's something that we're going to be showing you a lot through our work tomorrow when we show Jen's films and we talk about some of the other questions and we have our panel focusing on disability that I know some people in the room are going to be speaking on. So I've done my best to summarise Emma's work. I know that she would have been much more articulate and that it's all really in the tip of her tongue. But as I said, Emma will be back tomorrow and we'll be learning a lot more about some of the work that really kind of comes from her basic kind of summary of the report as well tomorrow. And I think also some of the things that our next speaker, Vike Fors from Halmstad University in Sweden, who's one of our partner investigators in ADMS, is going to be talking about, also kind of resonates with that question of what do we do in the face of those dominant narratives. So Vike, who I've been working with for a long time, at least 10 years, but specifically on this kind of stuff, is going to present the AHA catalogue. And AHA stands for A Human Approach. And I've been involved with Vike in the AHA 1 and AHA 2 projects, but much of what's happened in this project I haven't been fully engaged with because it's been happening in Sweden during the pandemic, so I'm as excited as anybody should be to actually hear a little bit more about the catalogue and to listen to Vike presenting it. And then afterwards, this is the only thing now between us and the reception, which I think we might enjoy our reception drinks, really also gathering around the posters at the end of the back of the room, which really also bring to life the AHA project and the catalogue. So welcome, Vike.
Oh, thank you. I actually don't think I need to say anything more.
No,
you said everything. I'm just holding in my hand the catalogue. And the catalogue is the life source of the AHA project. It's the form that actually, it creates a form, or it stages how we did our co-creating process come alive. So this is actually something that is completely co-created through city partners, industry partners, and us as researchers. And it has grown, and it has been iterated, and it has changed. And this one is the first sort of almost ready made prototype. It's just one more iteration left, and that is up to you who's in here to help us with. We have brought 10 copies. I don't know yet what kind of clever competition we will have where you will win one. We will probably know that later after a couple of glasses of wine. But I am handing over to my very competent team. Maike Brodersen is over there. She will stand somewhere in the exhibit. Esbjørn Ebbeson is going to be somewhere too. And then Kaspar Ratz is also going to be somewhere. So you can talk to them instead of listening to me when I sit here. And why there is an exhibit is because from this life source, it has emerged an exhibit that we had standing in a city expo in Sweden, in one of the areas where we actually created one of our design ethnographic urban living labs. And it's still there because in the city expo, that particular area was one of the sort of the exhibit areas. So we've been talking to many people around these posters, and we are so happy to do it again, and probably tomorrow again, because I'm going to sit on this stage tomorrow and talk a bit more about the project, actually. So I don't want to stop you now. Oh, picture. Camera's upside down. I just want you to go over there, or maybe you start with a glass of wine, I don't know how this works. Or if you want to go over there and talk with our team and look into the catalogue, I think that's much more enjoyable than listen to me when I sit here. So thank you.
So thank you, everybody. Have a glass of wine. Look at the catalogue, look at the posters, talk to Casper, Maike, and Björn at the back. And thank you so much, everybody, for today, for all being here and listening to us and joining in and asking questions. We look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow.